Notre Dame football has been littered by injuries so far this 2024 season, and things got a whole lot worse on Monday. The biggest injury blow to Notre Dame so far this season. It's unfortunate, but let's talk about it. Ryan Roberts, A to Z Sports. Let's talk about the recent injury designation for All-American quarterback Benjamin Morrison. On Monday, head coach Marcus Freeman, in his press conference, which was there to recap the Stanford game, to preview the Georgia Tech game, and then talk injuries, put a bombshell on us to announce that Benjamin Morrison is out for the remainder of the 2024 season, dealing with a hip injury that will require surgery. A tough and honestly unbelievable blow for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, who are already down several players from the entirety of the season, that including defensive ends Jordan Botelho, Boubacar Traore. On the offensive side of the football, they've dealt with injuries with players like Ashton Craig. The injury toll has continued on this team, and honestly, this is the biggest one so far. When you talk about the best players on the Notre Dame roster, there is a short list, and Benjamin Morrison, whether he is one or two, he is a top 2 overall player on this Notre Dame football team. So anytime you lose a player of that magnitude, it is a huge loss. We're talking about a former freshman All-American in 2022. We're talking about a true All-American in 2023. 9 career interceptions, 18 career pass breakups, over 80 tackles. This is a player that is being projected for the 2025 NFL Draft to be a first-round draft selection this coming April. So you are losing a dominant player, an experienced player, a player who has a long history for the blue and gold of making key turnovers and locking down true wide receivers, whether that's the Marvin Harrisons of the world, Emeka Egbukas. He has done a tremendous job against the best wide receivers on his schedule and been able to be a turnover machine. What's next for Benjamin Morrison? That is the key question here, because obviously out for the remainder of the year. I think that barring major injury setback, and obviously dealing with a hip surgery is a tricky thing, but he's still projected to be a first-round pick, and I think as long as the medicals long-term check out, he probably won't fall too much. You know, maybe we're talking about a kid that might fall a few draft selections, but we're not talking about a player that's going from first-round selection to 7th rounder. Like, that's not the type of fall we're going to maintain here. But for him, he does now have the question of, do I want to enter the 2025 NFL Draft? Do I want to go back to school? I tend to lean towards the former on that conversation because, again, injuries are a tough conversation, but anytime the injury bug starts, sometimes it never gets better. So I think for Benjamin Morrison, cashing in on an NFL opportunity is probably in the best interest of him, not only for the short term, but probably for the long term as well. So I would still expect that to be the trajectory, but we'll see. There's obviously been no announcement to what Benjamin decides to do or is deciding to do after this season. So we gotta have to just wait and limbo a little bit and just understand his process and let his process play out. So obviously that surgery is coming, rehab is coming, and a decision will ultimately be coming. For this Notre Dame team, this is a very tricky situation. Not luckily, because injuries always stink, but Notre Dame has been dealing with a little bit of injury bug at cornerback. Not only has Benjamin Morrison been a little bit banged up throughout the year so far, we also have seen Christian Gray miss a football game. So we've seen Leonard Moore have an opportunity to play a lot of football. Now, that would be the first man up, but here's the question. When Leonard Moore played against Louisville, he played a lot to the field in replacement of Christian Gray. Does Leonard Moore go to the boundary? Do you throw Christian Gray into the boundary and let Leonard Moore play the field? Regardless of that, you're going to have to get Carson Hobbs ready to play. He's played sparingly so far. He's going to have to play either one of those cornerback spots, at least to provide depth. Jordan Clark is obviously your emergency guy. We saw that against Louisville, where he had to come in and he had to play when injuries were threatening that position as well. So Jordan Clark, all hands on deck. Carson Hobbs, all hands on deck. You need this cornerback position to be ready. As a Notre Dame fan, although the depth is very shaky right now, you always have optimism and confidence in Mike Mickens to be able to make this work ultimately. And you have a lot of talent still to work with. So for Notre Dame, they need to find those short-term answers very soon here. Heart goes out to Benjamin Morrison. Obviously, he's been a great player for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish over the last 2+ seasons. Hopefully, he has a very speedy recovery. You never want to hear this type of stuff, but we'll see what the next step is for this Notre Dame team and for Benjamin Morrison. Regardless, got to keep your eyes forward. Georgia Tech next on deck. You all know the drill. Even through the adversity and the negativity, it's always the same. Go Irish.